Hey folks, it's Myth from Millennial Fantasy. We had live letter number 60 this afternoon. And for this video, I just want to quickly go through the things that are interesting to me. So this is a very opinionated take on what we saw today. There are some really interesting tidbits here and there. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. So to start off, as you can see on your screen, the 5.35 patch is coming on October 13th, which is pretty much next week. So what do we have next? We have a new large-scale encounter known as the Bosnian Southern Front, band together with 72 players. Okay, that's cool. And we can have the choice between story quests and extra challenges. Yeah, this looks like a really interesting piece of content for me personally, because I'm a relatively new player. I have not had the experience that some of the other people in our community have, so I can't really relate this to another piece of content that we have seen before, maybe in some of the previous expansions. Alright, so the Bosnian Southern Front, some more details. Apparently there's this, they call it medal, so I think that's some sort of score. The more medal you have, the more resistance rank you get, and after a while you can storm Castrum Lacus Litore. I must say, in terms of details on Castrum Lacus Litore, there isn't too much. So how do we get more medal or the internal score of the Bosnian Southern Front? We can do either skirmishes or we can do critical engagement. I really like that they actually name a piece of content critical engagement. It's a funny name. And you can't get the medal from killing enemies outside of these encounters. So these skirmishes, they don't really say much about in terms of the slides. They might have chatted about it in Japanese for a bit, but obviously I don't know Japanese. The critical engagements though is definitely a piece of content that they went in really deep detail, so let's dive in. So critical engagements are these ongoing battles in the Bosnian front, either 24 or 48 player battles. It's not saying if it's gonna be like 36 as well, that's not really detailed, but they are comparable to dungeon or raid bosses, so that could be really interesting. So how does this work? We have this 4-step plan that he gave us. After a while playing this, you will trigger a critical engagement and people get this notification if they want to join. Then you get a duty finder-esque notification to see if you actually want to join or not, and you have a limited time to actually tell you. It's like the duty finder. It reminds me of the duty finder a lot. And afterwards you have the option, but not the requirement, to go to the battlefield, and then when you have some preparation and people can form parties and discuss some strategy to fight this stuff. So that's, yeah, it seems like some bonus PvE content. I'm not sure what it should be related to, if they have done this in Stormblood for example, but yeah, let's try it out. So this is interesting to me because if there are more requests for deployment than are permitted, people will be selected at random, which seems kind of weird. Instead of a queuing system, they have a random system, but there is a possibility to gain priority. Is that an absolute priority, or does your chance of joining increase with the amount of contribution you had or the amount of special items you had, which they were a little vague over? I can imagine some people being a bit, how should I say this nicely, frustrated. I don't doubt their capabilities of implementing that, but this should be something that is kept in check. Okay, so onto the resistance weapon updates. They're getting a buff. You can do this either by doing the Bosnian Southern Front, or you can do it outside of the Bosnian Southern Front. So that's good that they're giving the choice. Alright, so the rest of the video is on some of the preview stuff we got for patch 5.4, and the name of it is Futures Rewritten, and the release date is early December 2020. So about the name shortly, obviously it's a bit of a play on the time travel aspect of Shadowbringers. In terms of the release date, I think it's something that a lot of people expected. Obviously, Christmas is always this sort of block in your release schedule that you can't really release something in. So it's either going to be before or after Christmas. And if they would do it after Christmas, it would be really late. So early December sounds like a logical step. But how early in December are we talking? That's the real question here. They're a bit vague about it still, so Alright, so what's in 5.4? Obviously, new main scenario quest. Who would have guessed? The only teaser we get is this interesting screenshot of Ishgardian nature, let's put it that way. So we have a good friend Emmerich and his trusted lieutenant, and there's a bird person behind him. So following this, we have a new instanced dungeon called Matoya's Relict, and obviously it's compatible with the trust system. At this point, it would be weird if they made it incompatible with the trust system. Can we say something about this? Matoya is obviously the nickname for Y'shtola and the real name of Y'shtola's mentor. I'm actually curious if this will be a main scenario quest based dungeon or if it will live a bit more on the sides, but at this point it's really hard to tell. So here's some fan art probably relating to the dungeon we were talking about. It gives off a bit of a Matoya vibe as well. Yeah, it looks really cool. I like the library aspect. It does seem like they closed off some of the parts you want to walk around. Like I want to walk on that. I'm actually pointing at the screen now on that book staircase you see on the left. So we have new Chronicles of a New Era quest as expected, continuing the Sorrow of Wurlit. So here's the screenshot we had for this content. Looks Imperial, super interesting, except for the model in the background. That seems like something we might encounter. And this might be exactly what that is. We're following in the footsteps of the Ruby weapon encounter in patch 5.2 in the form of a Emerald weapon in both the normal version and the extreme version. So obviously next is the new raid dungeon, something we all expected, but the name is really interesting and it's called Eden's Promise. So both the normal variant and the savage variant. And the note is that the completion of the main scenario quests from patch 5.3 will be required, which makes sense in a story aspect. Eden's Promise though, that's an interesting name because obviously in terms of the fights they've done all of the elemental primals. And I'm really curious what they come up with next in terms of what bosses we're gonna face. I'm not too fussed about this one. I would have liked to see a bit more reveal on what's gonna happen in Eden's Promise. This is a pretty minimalistic screenshot. It's not bad, but it could have done a lot better. So for the rest of the changes, we're gonna go through it pretty quickly. Most of it is something we either expected, something that is not new, or something that is less interesting to me as a player because I don't indulge in that kind of content yet. Maybe I will in the future. So one of the first things is job adjustments, obviously something we expected. Next we have an update to Blue Mage. The level cap will be raised from 60 to 70. I know a lot of people like Blue Mage content because it's a lot different than some of the other jobs we have. Probably the last bit that is really interesting to me because obviously we have the resistance weapon questline evolving in patch 5.4. And this means this Delubrum Reginae, the normal version of it is 24 players, but the Savage version, Savage, the name Savage already like implies it is actually gonna be pretty difficult content, and it is for 48 players. Oh my god, can you guys imagine the chaos? That is cool though, I really like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this part. The details are scarce and we don't really know what we're gonna expect, but I mean, they hyped it up for sure. So just going through these really quickly, we have a crafter update. We have a update for gatherers. Here's a screenshot. So here's some more stuff about the gatherer. We have a update to the Ishgardian restoration system. Some updates for Skysteel tools, but these are definitely a bit minimalistic. And here is something that I find very interesting because obviously, as they promised, we're getting a new Unreal trial. They promised one every major patch, and they seem to be delivering on that promise in patch 5.4. So here is some concept art for the treasure hunt content. I have never heard of this before. I actually think watching these live streams is good for me because I find out that there's so many more systems in this game than I know. We have an update for ocean fishing. Again, not my cup of tea, at least not yet. We have a update to Triple Triad. Same story as ocean fishing. I've never heard of this before, but if it's something like a card game within the game, I actually find it quite interesting. So I'm actually happy I watched this live stream because this is the first time I heard of Triple Triad. And here we have Doman Mahjong, a game within a game. Some people might really like this, but you know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this is not my cup of tea. And finally we have some last miscellaneous updates, a new violin instrument, why not? Fixing multiple materia, we can link quest in the chat window. Alright guys, so that was it for a quick update on the live ladder. My goal for this was to give you guys a bit of an overview and you didn't have to click through a stream for a very long time. So hopefully you guys like this. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are looking forward to most in terms of patch 5.35 as well as patch 5.4. I would love to hear from you. Take care, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys really soon.